This is Miller Philosopher. We're all familiar with the legendary city of Gondolin, one of the most beautiful cities of not just the First Age, but arguably any age, second only to Elven Tyrion back in Valinor, some say. And we know what happened to it and the reasons why. That the Vala Umo long ago had told the city's then future founder, Turgon, to be ready to leave for the Valley of Tumladen and build the city, but also be ready to leave it when the time came because, like the rest of the Noldor, it was still on borrowed time. However, when that time came and Turgon gets the message from Huor that they need to leave Gondolin now, he can't. And not just Turgon, but pretty much any of the people of Gondolin. They had become too enamored with their recreation of Tyrion, of home, too seduced by the false sense of security that they had been told would only work for so long. However, what if Turgon had actually listened to Huor and followed Umo's instructions to abandon Gondolin and head for the coast? It's an interesting concept and another dive into an alternate Middle-earth history.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Now, first, we need to consider the consequences of Gondolin's fall in the main timeline. The Noldor of Beleriand were extremely weakened by the heavy losses and the fall of their last stronghold, a weakened state that leads the surviving sons of Fëanor to take advantage and attack the elven settlements on the coast, leading to their fall, scattering what was left of the Noldor to who knows where. This also leads to the Silmaril being taken from Middle-earth and into Valinor via Elendil and his wife and his crew, which then ultimately leads to the War of Wrath afterwards. But in this alternate timeline, it doesn't exactly happen like that. If Turgon leaves Gondolin, the coastal settlements of survivors from Falandoriath and elsewhere would have been tremendously reinforced. Not reinforced to the point where they can take on Morgoth, mind you, but enough that the Sons of Fëanor are going to think twice about brazenly launching an open assault. Because if Turgon had left, he's pretty much leaving at the peak of his people's strength and populace. In fact, you could argue that the third kinslaying may have never even happened. The big question is going to be what effect the Silmaril would have on Turgon, though. One of the very jewels that his uncle made long ago and had brought his people through hardship and war to Beleriand. I mean, we see the effect that the jewel has on others, becoming so enamored with its embodied primordial light that it inspires most people around it to darker impulses so they can possess it. And even if they are not possessed to take possession of it, that it brings the power of the Undying Lands into mortal lands, causing mortals to age faster, it's said, while also blessing the land and the people that surround it. And I imagine that would be quite noticeable. Turgon's relationship with his uncle's side of the family is hostile. He has never shown any love nor loyalty towards them since the departure from Valinor. And, in fact, Turgon had not wanted to leave his home in the first place, but did so anyway out of loyalty to his immediate family, a choice that earned him the curse of the Valar, the loss of his wife, and eventually even the loss of his sister. There's a shit ton of baggage associated with that jewel, is what I'm trying to say. Yet, it's still a holy jewel, clean of any malice that it may have indirectly inspired. So, I think Turgon, with the blessing of Ilwing, would take possession of the jewel as the High King of the Noldor, and Elwing probably feeling that it probably deserved to go to him. Now, Huor and Idril would still leave for who knows where, and their son Elendil would still remain and marry Ilwing, I think. But he would also be as a vassal to Turgon. Not that I think either one of them would have had a huge problem with this, but I think this also leads to two problems. One is that the Oath of Fëanor is still at play. It drives the Sons of Fëanor to madness if they don't follow it. And even though they can't just openly attack their kindred, I do see them attempting something similar to what they pull off in the main timeline at the conclusion of War of Wrath. Basically sneak in like Assassin's Creed and take the jewel. Now, if they do try this and it is successful, then presumably Turgon's going to be dead. And there's your kinslaying. And now the Sons of Fëanor and whatever's left of their faction is going to be on the run somewhere in southern Beleriand. But at the same time, at least the settlement, for the most part, is still intact. And Morgoth, whom it said never attacks that place in canon, might still not attack it. That being said, if the Sons of Fëanor fail in this last attempt, then you can be damn sure that the last of the Sons of Fëanor are going to be dead, which then leads to the second problem. And that is the presence of a substantial stronghold of Noldor elves, which includes an army, and is something I don't think Morgoth is going to leave alone. At least in canon, the settlement was just made up of ragtag survivors. In this timeline, it's a fairly large populace and civilization that just moved all their stuff, basically. I think Morgoth's armies come to Gondolin finding an abandoned city, and this would enrage him, since Morgoth believes that Turgon is going to be the one responsible for his downfall somehow. In the main timeline, as I said before, it's never made clear if Morgoth knew the settlement was there. But in this timeline, I'm going to think that he definitely would be aware of it. Even if we throw in almost protection, it would only last but so long. Maeglin is still around, mind you, and still bitter over the marriage of Idril to Arendil, and would probably still sell out his people. Thus, I do see Morgoth then coming to the coast, finally, to try and wipe out the last potential obstacle to his rule. And the settlement isn't Gondolin. It's not a fortified city of stone, even if they probably would have worked somehow to change that. Maybe something on the level of the Falas, but nothing like Gondolin. Therefore, I think that it would fall quicker than Gondolin did, given that even the great city itself could not withstand the numbers and the dragon power that was brought to bear on it. So how much less likely a beach community? And thus, we see in canon, at this point the lines merge. Turgon probably gives the jewel to Arendil, who then with his wife sells out to Valinor, and the rest is history. The only real change I basically see with this timeline, if Turgon had left Gondolin when he was told to, is that it would just basically prolong the inevitable. But that being said, let me know your own thoughts below, and this is the Miller Philosopher. Have a good day.